100 Meters, a tale of two runners and their varying journeys in the 100-meter dash, is my favorite anime movie of the year, arguably the decade, and is in consideration to be the greatest sports movie of all time. Maybe that's too high of a bar to set for a movie that has had a blink-and-you-miss-it theatrical run in the West, but I'm willing to get hyperbolic for this one, because rarely have I had an experience that was so visually engaging and thematically rich as I did with 100 Meters. 100 Meters ruminates on the athlete's journey, why we compete, and in this case, why we run. It centers itself in the different backgrounds of our contestants. All gravitate towards the sport of running for a multitude of reasons. We follow two runners through the years and touch a handful of others along the way. It makes for a grand exploration in the life cycle of an athlete, from the initial hook into the sport to the highs and lows of constant competition. The story is adapted from one of manga's most promising minds, Uoto. Back in 2019, Uoto wrote 100 Meters, with his follow-up manga being Orb on the Movements of the Earth, a historical fiction manga set in 15th century Europe, following a young scientist who seeks to prove the theory of heliocentrism correct. 2025 has been quite the year for the adapted works of Uoto's stories, as Orb stands as a strong candidate for Anime of the Year. It is a story of humanity, the lengths we go to pursue truth and knowledge, and the dark and hopeful results in that pursuit. When you move Uyoto's style out of the historical fiction and into the world of modern sports, you get a grounded inspection on what it means to dedicate yourself to something like running. The story starts in elementary school with Togashi, a star 100-meter runner who dusts all the competition. Togashi runs without challenge, with natural talent far beyond his peers. However, his days of being the best get shaken when the socially awkward transfer student Komiya joins their class. Komiya, who seems to have a hard time making friends, is seen running by Togashi. He moves like a rampaging bull, terrible technique with arms flailing and head down, moving with a type of hatred that makes him unable to stop. This brings Togashi to chase him down, and soon he becomes a type of mentor to his fellow student. Togashi gives pointers to Komiya about running, and the two of them develop a strong bond. From here, their paths will go very differently, as we follow them well into their 20s, as their relationship, passion, and skill at running will challenge them throughout. The story isn't only limited to these two, as we frequently get insight into the other minds of runners, from star youngsters to passionate college athletes, and even top-tier professionals. The goal is simple, the training obvious, yet a tenth of a second can spell the difference in becoming a legend or being a nobody. Togashi deals with the pressure of perfection from a young age. As a great runner, he seems to adore the sport, looking out for others and helping them get better. But as time goes on, the expectation to perform at the highest level seeps into his mind, creating obstacles. Komiya struggles to make friends and fit into new environments, and it seems like he's had to move a lot growing up, making him feel isolated. So he takes the pain of running as a way to block out the rest of the world. For Komiya, running gives him an escape. Even though his form is terrible, he still enjoys running. Many run for the sole purpose of winning. They have natural talent for it at a young age, so without much choice, they fall into the identity of a runner. For others, like Komiya, it provides a concrete goal, something to achieve, making the world an easier place to navigate. But we see other characters, those who don't have top-end skill to be elite, who run for the love of the sport. They enjoy the craft of it and find value in elevating their own ceiling. To run is both challenging and simple. It pushes our bodies to the limit while asking much of our minds to focus on putting one foot in front of the other, over and over and over again. As more complex and varied sports take over the world, running still offers something different for athletes. It asks them to distill their identities into 10 seconds of sprinting. Nothing more, nothing less. All of the ideas on running, the various approaches to what makes the sport worthwhile or worthless, wouldn't register if the production of this movie wasn't outstanding. Thankfully it is. Uoto's art style isn't the most visually visually stunning. His characters are drawn similarly, with a focus on emotion over beauty. That said, his style does lend itself perfectly to letting an anime production work hand in hand with it. We saw that with the unreal sequences in Orb, and for 100 meters, it's taken to another level. This movie moves from year to year, race to race, with an elegant flow. We get many training montages of runners getting better, but always have time to slow down for the most dramatic moments in the story. And the way the production handles every single running sequence is stunning. Rage, tranquility, happiness, and flow. Every feeling you could connect with running is conveyed at different types throughout this movie. The staff tackle running at all angles, at times making sure we feel just how much speed one runner has over the rest of the field, others honing in on the intensity of a character's emotion. The results are a wave of different views into the sport, with it reaching its peak in a sequence near the end of the second act. I've long since thought that comics and animation are the ideal format to explore the actual feeling of sports. In this sequence, the camera holds for a long take, first showing us every participant, and then the crowd that watches on. This beautifully brings us into the tension of the moment, while also adding to the scope, because it's such an important race. And then we start to feel the same anticipation each runner does before the beginning, as an anxiety is built up within us. Then we are hit with a burst of action, the race leaving no time for thought, only the next step. We start with an outer look on all of the runners, and then we focus in on the few who really matter. And before we can see who actually wins the race, we focus on the characters' emotions, everything they convey showing us who actually wins. Then the staff lets us sit in the shock of the outcome, using the stunning environment to convey the desperate emotions of the characters. This scene had a similar effect on me as Kenma's POV near the end of Haikyuu's film, an example of how animation can bring us into an athlete's shoes better than any other medium. The best part being along the way, the story grows more complex. Much of this film bounces between scope and intimacy, most of the time giving us an exciting view into competing as the film hypes up the feeling of every race. From scene to scene, this film reminds me a lot of 2024's Challengers, as it's just so exciting to go from event to event. But it never abandons the interpersonal emotions of the characters. 100 meters is a worthy inclusion into the pantheon of sports anime. Its themes and ideas often feel referential to many of the greats. When watching, you can't help but think of Haiji from Run with the Wind, the struggles of dealing with your body letting you down. The film's discussion between natural talent and passion reminds me a lot of the grounded realism we see in Ping Pong the Animation, but the film never feels too referential, as it always stays grounded in the central question: why do we run? The answer varies from person to person. We see how running positively and negatively affects the lives of those who give themselves to the race, characters trying to cope with the answer throughout the film, giving the story depth and nuance. There was a quality of this film that really sat with me: the idea of specialty. As we continue to create various systems for living an easier life, we find ourselves pursuing arguably meaningless activities and skills. We abandon the concept of well-roundedness to instead excel at one thing in hopes we stand out from the crowd. This drives people to feel boxed in. Personally, I can't shake the feeling that I provide much value when I'm spending most of my days talking about anime and manga. Often I feel maybe I should be out there learning other fundamental skills to life. And over time, all of it starts to feel the same, similarly to those who continue to run in the same straight line. The reason I continue to make videos is the reason many of the characters choose to run. In 100 meters, the characters are drawn to the race for a myriad of reasons, embracing the pain of it or basking in their superiority, but it all ends up at the same place, a life dedicated to doing the same thing over and over again. In 100 meters, the allure of running comes with this fatal reality, the monotony of modernity. How does one escape or cope with the malaise of life? It comes from pushing beyond your understanding of yourself, searching for greater skill. Even if that one thing feels insignificant in the bigger picture, trying hard and putting one foot after another is how we find fulfillment. 100 Meters is the standout anime film of the year for me. It depicts running in a visceral, heart-pounding explosion with characters who all change and challenge their reasoning for competing. In the end, it lends itself to why humans push themselves without a clear purpose. A grand story of two runners who try their best to overcome the challenges of running. A tale elevated by stellar production and a unique eye for direction, 100 Meters has placed itself in the pantheon of not just sports anime, but all sports media. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I was definitely not planning on making a video on 100 Meters, but I was so blown away with the film that I felt like I had to talk about it, and I've seen such little discussion about it online that I wanted to give something for those who had just watched it. Please let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the film if you've seen it, and I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons and YouTube members. They are so important to helping this channel continue making videos, and I'm so appreciative of every single one of them. If you want to support me through Patreon or my YouTube membership, you also will get access to this channel's Discord server where I host monthly anime watch-along discussions. Currently we're watching The Summer Hikaru Died, which is the perfect spooky season watch. You also get your name at the end of every video and access to exclusive updates about the channel and other projects I'm working on. Thank you so much again for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.